This is some kind of prep talk, which I thought that I am always putting up rampages and everything. But let me just come up and encourage you a bit because it's good to be encouraging people, and I feel like so the other day I was reading about the I am. So there's this thing which says that, like, if you are a religious person and you read the book of Bible or any other religious book, you would come to realize the power of your mind. So not just your power of your subconscious mind, but the mind overall. So whatever you speak after saying I am, you are speaking into existence. So what happens is that if you are saying I'm rich, I am transformed, I am out of trauma, then you are already that what you speak to be. And I am is also the equation of God. So if you have read the Bible, it says that I am is what God is. He is the Alpha and the Omega. And if you have read Gita as well, so that's what Krishna says to Arjuna when he revealed who he was. So you see that I am word is so important. So I am means God, and that I am, when you're speaking into existence, you're actually vouching the name of God, and you're speaking something which you want that reality to happen in your life. So that's how important it is. And you see, your assumptions play a big role in everything. So it's like something which you say. So if you say that money comes to me easily and effortlessly, and this assumption is something which you have been carrying all through the way, or maybe you had a different kind of concept wherein you thought that you are someone who don't get money so often, or you're someone to whom the commitment doesn't come easy. So what you do is that this is some kind of self-concept which you have been living with. But for that, you need to be flipping the story, and you need to come out with a different assumption, so that what you think of is being reflected eventually in your reality. So that's how it happens. And this power of assumption is something which you can always do. So let me read you a few lines, and I would be very happy to encourage all of you. Man's chief delusion is his conviction that there are causes other than his own state of consciousness. Now, when I say consciousness, what do I mean? Consciousness means I am. So whatever you say, whatever your desires are, they are not separate from you. They are a part of you. So whenever we think that, I will be rich at some point of time, then you are creating some kind of separation in your mind that you are not what you are right now. And when you create that separation, you get more of that separation. So all that befalls a man, all that is done by him, all that comes from him, happens as a result of his state of consciousness. So man's consciousness is all that he thinks and desires and loves, and all that he believes is true and consents to. So if you want to adopt that identity wherein you are always going abroad, you are going into the business trips, you're getting high promotions, you are being favored by your manager, you are being favored by your favorite client, then you need to adopt that kind of consciousness inside of you, so that you are able to do that. So man's consciousness is all that he thinks and desires and loves, and all that he believes is true and consents to. That is why a change of consciousness is necessary before you can change your outer world. Rain falls as a result of a change in the temperature in the higher regions of the atmosphere. So in like manner, a change of circumstance happens as a result of a change in a state of consciousness. So if you haven't been able to get something which you have been craving for, then that means you need to change your consciousness. You cannot fix the mirror. So you cannot change the world, change your consciousness, then I will change. You will have to change your own consciousness so as to change the world. Then, so let me just read you this line from Romans 12:2 of Bible. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Means you need to be renewing your mind, so in order to change the circumstance. To be transformed, the whole basis of your thoughts must change. But your thoughts cannot change unless you have new ideas for what you think of about your ideas. All transformation begins with an intense burning desire to be transformed. The first step in the renewing of mind is desire. You must want to be different before you can begin to change yourself. Then you must make your future dream a present fact. You do this by assuming the feeling of your wish fulfilled. By desiring to be the other than what you are, you can create an ideal of the person you want to be and assume that you are already that person. If this assumption is persisted in until it becomes your dominant feeling, the attainment of your ideal is inevitable. So the ideal you hope to achieve is already ready for an incarnation, but unless you otherwise offer it human percentage, it is incapable of birth. Therefore, your attitude should be one in which, having desire to express a higher state, you alone accept the task of incarnating this new and greater value of yourself. So I've got so many clients who come to me and they tell me, my SP is not behaving this way, my SP is not behaving that way. So have you, before you complain about the other person, have you transformed your mind into the desired state of your SP, that which if you have transformed and still they have not confirmed, then it still means that you hold a certain set of your doubt inside your mind, that or any kind of fear which is preventing you from getting this. So you need to be completely out of it so that you are able to get the desired version of whatever you are craving for, whether it is your SP, whether it is your job, or whatever it is. So, this is a point that is truly understood by probably not more than one person in a million. You know a thing mentally by looking at it from the outside, by comparing it with other things, by analyzing it, and by defining it. Whereas you can know a thing spiritually only by becoming it. So, what does this mean? This line is very important. You know a thing mentally by looking at it from the outside. So, maybe, for example, let us take example of someone's SP. So, maybe XYZ person, and XYZ person is an SP known as ABC. So you know this person by looking at it from the outside. Okay, so you have certain kind of assumptions, and obviously you're looking at that person, and your assumptions are being reflected back, because whatever you hold, that will be reflected back, even if your assumptions are bad about that person. Now what you do is you compare it with other things. So you compare it with maybe the journey of the world. Then you analyze it and define it, whereas you can only know a thing spiritually only by becoming it. So what happens is that, so you get into a spiral kind of mode. Why? Because you see other people getting their happy endings by now, and you are not able to get it by now. And then you start comparing and you just spiral, and then you just realize, oh my god, what did I just do? So this is something which is because our concept is like whatever we see. So if you are seeing your SP as someone who is fearing commitment, or someone who is very afraid, and someone who is still not ready for you, then he will reflect that back to you. And that is why whatever you are thinking, he is reflecting it back. Now if you start seeing your person as someone who is ready for you, who is ready for the marriage you want, and is ready for everything you want, he is completely ready inside and out, then he will reflect that, and you will also stop comparing your story with the other people's story. Okay, now the ideal which you are hoping to achieve is already ready for an incarnation, but unless you yourself offer it human parentage, it is incapable of birth. So that means what? If you are wanting a commitment from your person, then you must also be ready for this. And when I say that you must also be ready for this, what I mean to say is you must be in that version of yourself who already has that what he desires, what you desire. Okay, so now let me just tell you this. So in giving birth to your ideal, you must bear in the mind that the methods of mental and spiritual knowledge are entirely different. So this is a point that you truly understand by probably not more than 1% in a trillion. You know a thing mentally by looking at it from the outside, and then you compare. Okay, so you must be the thing itself and not merely talk about it or look at it. So maybe some of us are affirming, and then we start looking at the bank balance. It has not reached million, but you must think and see that your bank balance is already 1 million in order to be a millionaire. So you must be the thing itself and not merely talk about it or look at it. You must be like the moth in search of an idol, the flame who spurred with true desires plunging into the sacred fire. Now there's one line from a book which says this: he only knew the flame who in it burnt, and only who he could tell, who near to tell returned. So it says, just as the moth in his desire to know the flame was willing to destroy himself, so must you, in becoming a new person, be willing to die to your parent self. So you must ask yourself that what is it inside of me which is stopping my person from coming in my life in that ideal version. So if it is his past which is obstructing you to become the person who is already his wife, then you must stop bringing his past in your life to be getting the commitment which you want from this person. Or if it is your past or your patterns or something or the other, or some kind of confidence problem inside of you, then you must go and solve that within yourself and release the old self so that the new self could reflect back. You must be conscious of being healthy if you are to know what health is. You must be conscious of being secure if you are to know what security is. Therefore, to incarnate a new and greater value of yourself, you must assume that you already are what you want to be, and then live by faith in this assumption, which is not yet in the body of your life, in confidence that this new value or state of consciousness will become incarnated through your absolute fidelity to the assumption that you are not which you desire to be. So you have to command it into existence. There's no other way to do it except release the old self, release the old desires. Not release the old desires, but release the old identity which created those things. So this is what wholeness means, and this is what integrity means. It means submission to the whole self, to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and certainty that the new state of consciousness is the renewing of mind which transforms. So there is no order in nature corresponding to this willing submission to the self, to the ideal, beyond the self. So you must be willing. So even if you are not in that identity yet, even if you are not in that reality yet, your identity has to conform into that new reality, so that when your new reality comes to you, there's no other law. It's like, would you say that this law of assumption is so true that everything, when you make this new assumption, it starts reflecting. So you cannot, like for example, you know the law of gravity, you know the law of let's just take law of gravity only. So would you say that the law of gravity doesn't function? Yes, it might be weaker in some areas of the earth and it might be very strong in some areas of the earth. Yes, gravity's anomalies exist, but then gravity is gravity. If you drop a ball, it is going to fall down, it's not going to fall up, obviously. So why don't you have the same kind of conviction for the law of assumption or law of attraction, whichever you are following, which is more or less similar to each other. So there is no order in nature which is corresponding to this willing other than yourself. Therefore, it is the height of folly to expect the incarnation of a new and greater self-concept to come by natural evolutionary process. This, which requires a state of consciousness, is to produce its own effect, obviously cannot be affected without such a state of consciousness. And in your ability to assume the feeling of a greater life, to assume a new concept of yourself, you possess what the rest of nature do not possess: imagination, the instrument by which you create your world. So your imagination is the instrument. That means, therefore, your redemption from slavery, sickness, poverty, and whatever you're affected by. So if you refuse to assume the responsibility of the incarnation of a new and higher concept of yourself, then you reject the means, the only means thereby where your redemption comes from. Imagination is the only redemptive fire in the universe. However, your nature is such that it is optional to you whether you remain in your present concept of self, a hungry being longing for freedom, health and security, or choose to become the instrument of your own redemption, imagining yourself as though you that which you want to be, and therefore satisfying your hunger and redeeming yourself. So I'll just read some lines from this book. Be strong and brave, pure, patient and true. The work that is yours, let no other hand do. For the strength all need is faithfully given from the fountain within you, the kingdom of heaven. So that is what Jesus also says, that the kingdom of heaven is within you. And if you refuse to take the responsibility that the kingdom of heaven is inside of you, then you will never create the kingdom of heaven. That's all. Thank you.